There are moments in your life that pass without noise, without thunder, without applause, and yet heaven itself pauses to watch. You wake up thinking it was just another night, just another sleep, just another stretch of hours that slip through your fingers. But there are nights when history bends quietly, when decisions are made in places you cannot see, when doors shift on hinges you did not know existed. You walked into yesterday carrying questions, fatigue, maybe even doubt, and you walked out of it marked, changed, repositioned, though nothing in your room looked different this morning. That is the mystery of being chosen. It never announces itself the way people expect it, moves silently, decisively, and leaves you catching up to a version of yourself that has already been approved. There are conversations that happen beyond your awareness, counsels you are not invited to, strategies formed while you sleep, while you were resting, while you were scrolling, while you were trying to survive another ordinary day. Something was authorized over your life. Not because you earned it, not because you were perfect, but because timing finally aligned with assignment. Some people think elevation comes with fireworks, but most of the time it comes with a quiet nod from the unseen realm, a subtle shift in atmosphere that only reveals itself later. That is why you feel different and you cannot explain it. That is why the same problems no longer intimidate you the way they used to. That is why old fears are losing their grip, even though nothing around you has changed yet. You are not behind. You are being prepared off stage. There are seasons where progress is hidden, where growth happens underground, where the work is invisible but necessary. You thought the delay meant denial, but it was actually protection. You thought the silence meant abandonment, but it was alignment. Some blessings cannot arrive loudly because they would attract the wrong attention too early. Some promotions must be whispered into place because your strength was still catching up with your destiny. What happened last night was not about what you felt, it was about what was finalized. You have been misreading resistance as rejection, but resistance is often confirmation. When pressure increases, it is not because you are failing, it is because you are nearing a threshold. There are lines you cross that change how the world responds to you. And once crossed, things do not get easier, they get more intentional. That heaviness you felt was not meant to crush you, it was meant to anchor you. Weight builds strength when you learn how to stand under it. And you are standing now in ways you could not before, even if you do not fully realize it yet. There are assignments that only awaken when you are asleep, when your conscious mind stops interfering, when your doubts finally rest. In those moments, clarity is released without argument. Direction is downloaded without negotiation. You wake up with a strange calm, a quiet confidence, a resolve that does not need explanation. You may call it intuition, but it is deeper than that. It is alignment. It is knowing without evidence. It is peace without permission. That is what shocks the watchers. Not that you are strong, but that you are still unaware of how strong you have become. You were chosen not because you were the loudest, but because you were willing. Not because you had the cleanest record, but because you had the softest heart. Not because you never broke, but because you always rebuilt. You underestimate the power of resilience. You underestimate the weight of persistence. Every time you got up when it would have been easier to stay down, something was recorded. Every time you kept going without applause, something was noted. Every time you chose integrity over shortcuts, you aligned yourself with a future you could not yet see. There are people who only know the version of you that struggled, and they will be confused by the version of you that emerges next. Do not waste energy explaining your transformation to those who were not present for your endurance. They did not hear the prayers you whispered. They did not see the nights you questioned everything and still showed up the next day. They did not feel the internal battles you fought quietly while smiling on the outside. You owe no explanations for a growth they did not invest in. Something shifted in your authority. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands respect without asking. You will notice it in conversations. You will notice it in decisions. You will notice how certain doors open without resistance now, while others close without regret. That is discernment maturing. That is wisdom stepping forward. That is you no longer chasing what is not meant for you. Chosen ones stop begging for alignment because alignment starts finding them. You are learning how to move without announcing, how to prepare without panic, how to trust without needing signs every step of the way. Faith matures when it no longer needs constant reassurance. Confidence deepens when it stops performing. Strength stabilizes when it no longer reacts to every distraction. That is why your energy feels different. That is why you are more selective now. That is why peace has become more valuable than approval. There are things leaving your life that you once prayed to keep, and there are things arriving that you once thought you were not ready for. Growth often looks like loss before it looks like gain. Expansion often feels like discomfort before it feels like freedom. But nothing is being taken from you without something greater being prepared. Space is being created. Capacity is being stretched. Vision is being sharpened. What you could not hold before, you are being trained to carry now. You may not know exactly what happened last night, but you will recognize its impact in the days ahead. You will respond differently. You will hesitate less. You will tolerate less. You will trust yourself more. You will stop shrinking to fit rooms that were never meant to contain you. You will stop explaining your boundaries to people who benefited from you having none. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is not distance. This is discernment. Do not rush to announce what is unfolding. Some things need time to settle into your spirit before they are shared with the world. Protect what is growing. Guard what is forming. Silence is not secrecy. It is stewardship. You are learning how to carry weight without dropping it, how to hold promise without rushing it, how to walk in purpose without broadcasting it. That kind of maturity cannot be taught. It can only be lived. You have been given grace for what is coming, strength for the responsibility, wisdom for the decisions, endurance for the process. You would not be positioned here without provision already in place. You would not feel this stirring if you were not ready to move. The same force that sustained you through the last season has already gone ahead of you into the next one. You are not stepping into uncertainty. You are stepping into preparation fulfilled. Watch how. Things begin to rearrange themselves. Watch how people reveal themselves. Watch how opportunities surface without forcing. Watch how clarity replaces confusion. This is not coincidence, this is consequence. This is the result of every unseen sacrifice, every quiet prayer, every moment you chose growth over comfort. The story is shifting, the pace is changing, and your role is expanding. And even now, as you read this, as something settles in your chest that feels like recognition, like remembrance, like awakening, there is still more unfolding beneath the surface, more alignment happening quietly, more threads being woven together in ways you cannot yet trace, more strength being layered into your spirit, more insight waiting to rise at the right moment, because what happened last night was not an ending, it was not a climax, it was not a conclusion, it was a continuation of a process that is still moving, still shaping, still calling you forward into the next step where awareness catches up with authorization, and you finally begin to see that the shift you felt was only the beginning of what is now preparing to unfold through you as you move into the day, carrying something new, something weighty, something alive, something that will soon demand expression as you continue walking, breathing, choosing, becoming, and stepping further into what has already been set in motion, even as the path ahead begins to reveal itself piece by piece, moment by moment, without hurry, without fear, without needing to explain why you now move the way you do, because the rhythm has changed and you are learning how to move with it as it continues to build, deepen, and call you forward into what comes next. And as that rhythm settles into your steps, you begin to realize that not everything meant for you arrives with clarity first. Some things arrive as pressure, some arrive as restlessness, some arrive as a quiet dissatisfaction with the way things used to be. That discomfort is not a flaw in you, it is a signal. It is your spirit rejecting environments that no longer match your frequency. You are outgrowing patterns that once felt safe. You are shedding versions of yourself that were necessary then but are limiting now. Growth is rarely loud, but it is always undeniable once it starts moving through you. There is a reason. You no longer resonate with certain conversations, a reason you feel drained by things that once excited you, a reason your patience for surface level living has thinned. You are being recalibrated. Your tolerance is lowering not because you are weaker, but because you are stronger. When purpose sharpens, distractions lose their appeal. When clarity increases, compromise feels heavier. You are not becoming difficult, you are becoming defined. What happened while you were unaware was not just external alignment, it was internal authorization. Something inside you was given permission to rise. Confidence that does not need permission from people. Courage that does not wait for validation. Discipline that does not depend on motivation. You are beginning to move from reaction to intention, from survival to strategy, from hoping things work out to knowing you will work things through. You may notice your emotions responding differently now. You still feel, but you are no longer ruled by feeling. You still care, but you are no longer consumed by caring too much about the wrong things. There is a steadiness forming in you, a grounding that does not sway with every opinion or setback. That is maturity settling in. That is wisdom taking the lead. That is you learning how to stay centered even when the world around you is loud. There are tests that come after selection, not before it. Tests of patience, tests of restraint, tests of Obed. Iance to what you know rather than what you want. Just because you are chosen does not mean everything accelerates immediately. Sometimes the pace slows down to refine you. Sometimes momentum pauses to check your alignment. Can you carry success without losing humility? Can you handle authority without abandoning compassion? Can you walk ahead without looking down on where you came from? You're being trusted with more than you realize. Influence is not always public. Impact is not always visible. Leadership often begins in private decisions when no one is watching. How you speak to yourself, how you manage your time, how you treat people who cannot offer you anything in return. These quiet choices shape loud outcomes later. You are laying foundations now that others will stand on without ever knowing your name. There will be moments where you are tempted to return to old habits simply because they are familiar. Familiarity can feel like comfort even when it limits you, but you cannot unsee what you now see. You cannot unknow what you now know. You cannot shrink back into a version of yourself that no longer fits. That restlessness you feel when you try to go backward is your spirit reminding you that the door is already closed. Pay attention to what excites you without exhausting you. Pay attention to what challenges you but still feels right. Pay attention to where your energy multiplies instead of drains. These are clues. Direction often reveals itself through resonance before it reveals itself through detail. You do not need the full picture to take the next step. You only need the courage to honor what is stirring. There are relationships being redefined now. Some will deepen, some will distance, some will dissolve quietly without conflict. Do not chase what naturally fades. Do not force what no longer flows. Alignment has a way of rearranging connections without explanation. Trust the process, even when it feels lonely. Solitude is not punishment, it is preparation. It teaches you how to hear yourself clearly again. You are learning how to sit with silence without filling it, how to pause without panicking, how to wait without worrying. That is strength. The world mistakes busyness for progress, noise for impact, speed for success. But you are discovering a different rhythm, one where intention leads and action follows, one where clarity precedes movement, one where you move less but accomplish more. There will be moments when doubt tries to return, wearing familiar clothes, speaking with a familiar voice. It will remind you of past failures, past delays, past disappointments, but doubt no longer has the authority it once did. It can speak, but it cannot decide. You have evidence now. Not external proof, but internal knowing. You have survived what you thought would break you. You have adapted where you thought you would quit. You have grown where you thought you were stuck. You are not here by accident. Timing is too precise, lessons too layered, growth too intentional. Even the pain had purpose. Even the confusion had direction. Even the waiting had weight. Nothing was wasted. What felt like detours were actually training routes. What felt like endings were actually redirections. You were never being pushed away. You were being guided forward. As you move through the coming days, notice how your reactions change, how you pause before responding, how you choose peace more often than proving a point, how you walk away from what once demanded explanation. These are signs, not of indifference, but of evolution. You are conserving energy for what matters. You are protecting focus for what is coming. There is a creative force waking up in you, ideas that feel alive, visions that feel urgent, a desire to build, to lead, to express, to contribute in ways that feel meaningful. Do not ignore that pull. Purpose often whispers before it speaks loudly. Start small, start imperfect, start scared if you have to, but start. Momentum respects movement. You may not have all the resources yet, but you have enough to begin. You may not feel fully ready, but readiness often follows obedience. Growth is not about certainty, it's about commitment, committing to learn, committing to adjust, committing to stay aligned even when results take time. You are stepping into a season where responsibility increases along with opportunity. This is not a burden, it is an invitation to rise to the level of who you are becoming, an invitation to operate with integrity when no one is monitoring, an invitation to lead with authenticity rather than performance. The weight you feel is not meant to slow you down, it is meant to ground you. Some people will misunderstand your stillness. Some will misinterpret your boundaries. Some will project their fears onto your growth. Let them. You are not required to be understood by everyone, only to be true to what you know. Approval is fleeting. Alignment lasts. There is a difference now in how you see time. You are less rushed, less frantic, more intentional. You understand that timing is not about speed, it is about precision. Being early can be just as problematic as being late. You are learning how to move when the moment is right, not just when the opportunity is loud. Trust what is unfolding even when it does not match your original plan. Life often exceeds expectations by rewriting them. What you thought you wanted was a draft. What is forming now is the final version, and it fits you better than you imagined. There are layers of healing happening without your conscious effort. Old wounds loosening their grip, old narratives losing their power, old goals falling away. You are no longer defined by what hurt you. You are being defined by how you healed, how you adapted, how you rose. You will notice that your intuition feels sharper. Decisions feel clearer. Red flags stand out sooner. Peace speaks louder. That is discernment developing through experience. You have earned this clarity through endurance, through honesty with yourself, through willingness to grow even when it was uncomfortable. What comes next will require consistency more than intensity, discipline more than excitement, faithfulness more than flair, and you are being trained for that now. Learning how to show up when it is mundane, how to stay committed when it is quiet, how to trust the process when it is slow. Do not underestimate the power of the season you are in. It may not look impressive, but it is essential. Roots grow in darkness. Foundations form underground. Strength develops under resistance. What you cannot see is often what matters most. You are closer than you think, not just to a goal, but to alignment, to peace, to purpose, to a version of yourself that feels solid, centered, and capable. Keep moving with the rhythm. Keep honoring the process. Keep listening to what is stirring inside you. Because even now, as the days continue and the nights pass and life unfolds in ordinary moments, there are still shifts happening quietly, still alignments being confirmed, still doors adjusting their hinges, still strength being layered into your character, still clarity rising slowly but surely, still momentum building beneath the surface, and you are walking forward carrying something that is still unfolding, still becoming clear, still preparing to reveal itself more fully as you continue to move, choose, trust, and grow, unaware perhaps of just how much has already been set in motion and how much more is still gathering behind you. Wow. Hiding for the next step, the next breath, the next moment where awareness begins to catch up again and the journey continues forward without pause, without finality, without ending, only movement, only becoming, only the steady continuation of what has already begun. And in that steady continuation, you begin to understand that becoming is not an event, it is a discipline. It is the quiet decision to show up again today with awareness, even when yesterday already took so much from you. It is choosing consistency over intensity, depth over display, substance over applause. The world celebrates bursts, but destiny responds to endurance. And you, perhaps without realizing it, have trained yourself for endurance through every season that demanded patience instead of praise. There's a shift happening in how you define success. It is no longer just about arrival. It is about alignment. Not just about achievement, but about sustainability. You are no longer impressed by outcomes that cost you your peace. You are no longer willing to win at the expense of your integrity. That internal recalibration is not accidental. It is the mark of someone who understands that what you carry forward matters more than how fast you get there. You may feel moments of solitude even in crowded rooms. Not because you are disconnected, but because your inner world has expanded beyond surface engagement. You hear more, you sense more, you notice patterns others overlook. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is perception sharpened by experience, and with it comes responsibility to respond wisely, not react emotionally, to observe patiently, not judge quickly. There will be days when nothing dramatic happens, when no doors swing open, when no confirmations arrive. Do not interpret those days as stagnant. These are integration days, days where lessons settle, days where strength consolidates, days where clarity stabilizes. Growth does not always announce itself with change. Sometimes it whispers through consistency. You are learning how to hold vision without rushing manifestation, how to carry purpose without forcing outcome, how to trust timing without surrendering effort. This balance is rare, and it is being cultivated in you intentionally. Too much urgency would distort you. Too much comfort would dull you. So the process keeps you right at the edge, engaged, alert, present. There are internal conversations happening now that are more important than external ones. How you speak to yourself when plans shift. How you respond internally when expectations are not met. How you frame delays, detours, and disappointments. These inner dialogues shape your trajectory more than any external circumstance ever could. And you are becoming more mindful of them, more intentional with them, more disciplined in how you guide your own thoughts. You are no longer asking, why is this happening to me, as often. You're asking, what is this teaching me? That shift alone changes everything. It turns obstacles into instruction, pressure into preparation, waiting into wisdom. It gives meaning to moments that once felt pointless. It anchors you when outcomes are uncertain. Some people will drift away simply because they no longer recognize you, not because you have changed in a negative way, but because you have changed in a truthful one. You are less available for chaos, less tolerant of disrespect, less willing to abandon yourself to keep others comfortable. This can feel isolating, but it is actually refining. What remains after refinement is what is meant to stay. There will be moments when nostalgia tries to pull you backward, reminding you of simpler times, easier dynamics, familiar roles. But simplicity is not the same as alignment. Ease is not the same as grow. You cannot measure your future by the comfort of your past. You are building something different now, something deeper, something that requires a broader version of you. You may notice your standards rising quietly, not in arrogance, but in clarity. You expect more from your time, your energy, your commitments. You are more selective with what you say yes to because you understand that every yes carries weight. Every agreement shapes direction. Every obligation consumes capacity. This is wisdom maturing through experience. There is a calm strength forming in you that does not rush to prove itself. It does not need to announce authority. It does not demand recognition. It simply operates. And when strength operates without insecurity, it becomes unmistakable. People may not know why they trust you, why they listen, why they feel steadied in your presence, but they will feel it. You are learning how to be present without being passive, how to be patient without being complacent, how to wait without losing momentum. This is a rare skill, and it will serve you well in spaces where others react impulsively or retreat prematurely. You are becoming someone who can hold steady in transition. There are layers of courage awakening that you did not know were dormant. Courage to say no without explanation. Courage to pursue what feels aligned even when it is unfamiliar. Courage to release what no longer fits without bitterness. This courage is not loud. It is quiet, grounded, resolute. Your relationship with fear is changing. It still appears, but it no longer paralyzes. It informs without controlling. You recognize it as a signal, not a verdict, a feeling, not a command. This shift alone expands your world. You take steps you once avoided. You consider possibilities you once dismissed. You trust yourself to navigate uncertainty rather than avoid it. You may feel drawn to simplify, to clear space, to remove excess. This is not minimalism for aesthetics. It is clarity for capacity. You are making room for what requires focus, presence, depth. Complexity drains you now. You crave coherence, flow, purposeful structure. This desire is guiding you toward environments where you can thrive rather than just function. There are insights arriving in ordinary moments while driving, while walking, while resting. They do not come with urgency, but with certainty. You recognize truth when it surfaces now. It resonates deeply, quietly, unmistakably. This is discernment refined by experience, not theory. You are no longer impressed by potential alone. You value follow-through. You respect consistency. You admire integrity lived out over time. This shift affects who you trust, who you partner with, who you learn from. You are drawn to substance over style, depth over display. You may feel moments of impatience with yourself, moments where you think you should be further along by now. But growth does not follow linear timelines. It follows readiness, and you are arriving at things exactly when you are equipped to sustain them. Early arrival can be just as costly as delay. You are being spared that cost. The way you experience joy is changing too. It is less about highs and more about steadiness, less about excitement and more about contentment. You appreciate small wins, quiet mornings, clear decisions, rest without guilt. This kind of joy does not fade quickly. It anchors you. There are responsibilities ahead that require emotional maturity more than talent, relational intelligence more than ambition, self-awareness more than speed. You are being prepared for those now through experiences that stretch your patience, refine your communication, and test your character. You are learning how to lead yourself before leading anything else, how to regulate your emotions, how to manage your focus, how to honor your limits without shrinking your vision. This internal leadership creates external impact later. Always do not rush this phase. It is doing more than you realize. It is stabilizing you, strengthening you, grounding you. The person you are becoming needs this depth, this clarity, this resilience. Without it, success would feel hollow. With it, even challenges feel purposeful. There is still more unfolding quietly, more insight surfacing gradually, more confidence settling into place, more alignment tightening around your choices. You are not finished becoming. You are not done growing. You are not late. You are right on time within a process that values depth over display, readiness over rush. And as you continue moving forward, step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment, there's a growing awareness that the shift you felt was not temporary, not emotional, not imagined, but structural, foundational, lasting. Something that continues to adjust how you see, how you decide, how you move through the world. Something that keeps unfolding beneath the surface, even when the days look ordinary and the nights seem quiet. Something that is still aligning, still strengthening, still shaping you for what lies ahead as the journey carries on without pause, without announcement, without a final chapter. Only the steady, intentional continuation of a becoming that is still in motion, still expanding, still guiding you forward into what comes next. And as that becoming continues to stretch forward, you begin to sense that your awareness is widening faster than your circumstances. And that is not a mistake. Awareness always arrives first. Vision precedes manifestation. Understanding comes before evidence. This is why you sometimes feel ahead of your environment, like you are living a few steps beyond what your surroundings reflect. You are not disconnected. You are previewing. You are seeing what is coming before it fully arrives. There is a growing separation between what you tolerate and what you accept. You still show grace, but you no longer sacrifice truth for peace. You still love deeply, but you no longer abandon yourself to prove it. This balance took time to learn, and you earned it through pain, through mistakes, through moments where you stayed too long and moments where you left too late. Wisdom often arrives after regret, but it does not carry shame with it. It carries clarity. You may notice that you are less reactive now. Situations that once pulled emotional responses from you now meet a pause. That pause is power. It allows you to choose rather than be triggered. It allows you to respond rather than defend. In that space between stimulus and response, your growth lives. And you are spending more time there now, steady, observant, grounded. There is a deepening, trust forming between you and yourself. You trust your instincts more. You trust your ability to recover. You trust that even if things do not go as planned, you will find your way through. This self-trust is not arrogance. It is experience integrated. It is the quiet confidence that comes from having walked through uncertainty before and survived it. You are becoming more honest about your limits, and that honesty is freeing. You no longer pretend to be okay when you are not. You no longer push past exhaustion just to meet expectations that were never aligned with your values. Rest is no longer guilt-ridden. Boundaries are no longer negotiable. This is not withdrawal. It is self-respect. There is an internal alignment happening between what you believe, what you say, and what you do. That alignment brings peace. Not the kind of peace that avoids conflict, but the kind that withstands it. The kin that remains steady even when outcomes are uncertain. The kind that does not depend on approval or applause. You may notice that you are drawn to quieter spaces now. Less noise, less chaos, less unnecessary stimulation. This is not isolation, it is restoration. Your nervous system is recalibrating. Your mind is learning how to be still without anxiety. Your spirit is learning how to listen without distraction. In that stillness, clarity grows. There are lessons surfacing now that could not have been taught earlier. You would not have understood them then. Timing matters in learning. Some truths require maturity to hold without distortion, and now you are ready to see people clearly without idealizing them, ready to accept reality without resisting it, ready to move forward without dragging the past behind you. You're beginning to recognize patterns not just in others, but in yourself. Patterns of avoidance, patterns of overgiving, patterns of self-doubt. And instead of judging yourself for them, you are observing them. That observation alone begins to dissolve their power. Awareness weakens repetition. Honesty disrupts cycles. There's a subtle confidence in how you carry yourself now. It is not performative. It does not seek validation. It simply exists. And people sense it. They may not comment on it, but they respond to it. Calm presence influences more than loud assertion ever could. You are no longer desperate for answers the way you once were. You are comfortable with unfolding, comfortable with process, comfortable with not knowing everything at once. This patience is not passive, it is anchored. It trusts that clarity will arrive when action is required. There are moments when you feel an unfamiliar sense of responsibility, not imposed, but internal. A responsibility to steward your time wisely, to honor your growth, to use your voice intentio. Nally, this responsibility is not heavy, it is clarifying. It gives direction to your choices. It sharpens your focus. You are learning that not every opportunity is meant to be pursued. Some are meant to be declined. Discernment is choosing alignment over advantage. It is saying no to good things to make room for the right ones. This takes courage, and you are developing it steadily. You may feel a growing discomfort with superficial success, with wins that look good but feel empty, with progress that lacks meaning. This discomfort is guiding you toward substance, toward work that matters, toward impact that lasts beyond recognition. Your patience with yourself is increasing. You no longer demand perfection. You value progress. You understand that growth is uneven, nonlinear, sometimes messy. This self-compassion allows you to keep moving without burning out. There is a subtle shift in how you experience time. You are more present, less consumed by anticipation or regret. You engage more fully with what is in front of you. This presence enhances everything. Conversations deepen, decisions clarify, moments matter. You are becoming more aware of how your environment affects you. You choose spaces that nourish rather than drain. You adjust routines to support rather than sabotage your energy. This intentionality is building a sustainable rhythm. There are internal boundaries forming now, not just external ones. You do not entertain every thought. You do not follow every impulse. You filter more carefully what you allow to occupy your mind. This mental discipline protects your clarity. You are learning how to sit with complexity without needing immediate resolution, how to hold conflicting emotions without collapsing into confusion. This emotional capacity expands your leadership, whether you realize it or not. There is a growing sense that your life is integrity, rather than fragmenting. Pieces that once felt disconnected are finding coherence. Past experiences are making sense in new ways. Lessons are aligning. This integration strengthens your identity. You are less attached to outcomes and more committed to process. This shift reduces anxiety. It allows you to engage fully without fear of failure. When you focus on alignment rather than results, resilience increases naturally. You may notice that your curiosity is returning, a desire to learn, to explore, to understand more deeply. This curiosity is not escapism, it is expansion. It fuels growth without pressure. You are becoming more selective with your emotional investments. You invest where there is reciprocity, where there is respect, where there is growth. This discernment protects your heart without closing it. There is a steadiness forming that does not depend on circumstances, a sense of groundedness that remains even when plans shift. This stability is the result of internal alignment, not external control. You are learning how to navigate uncertainty with trust rather than fear, how to move forward without guarantees. This courage expands your possibilities. There are moments when gratitude surfaces unexpectedly, not for perfection, but for progress, for survival, for growth. Gratitude anchors you in reality while honoring transformation. You are no longer rushing toward the future to escape the present. You are building the future through how you inhabit the present. This presence is powerful. There is still more unfolding beneath the surface, more awareness integrating, more confidence stabilizing, more clarity aligning. The process continues quietly, steadily, intentionally, shaping how you move, how you choose, how you engage with the world, without fanfare, without conclusion, without a final declaration, only the ongoing rhythm of becoming that carries you forward into each next moment as it arrives, layered, unfolding, alive, and still in motion. And so now, as awareness finally catches up with what was already set in motion, you stand at a quiet threshold, not waiting for permission, not asking for proof, not demanding signs, but simply recognizing that something irreversible has taken place within you. You are no longer becoming by accident, you are becoming by alignment. The weight you carry now is not confusion, it is calling. The stillness you feel is not emptiness, it is readiness. What shocked the unseen was never your potential. It was your endurance, your willingness to grow without applause, your ability to change without losing yourself. And from this moment forward, you do not need to rush, you do not need to explain, you do not need to convince anyone of what has shifted, because the evidence will reveal itself in how you move, how you choose, how you remain steady when others waver. You may have gone to sleep unaware, but you wake now aligned, anchored, and quietly authorized, carrying something that does not fade with time, something that deepens with every step, something that will continue unfolding long after words end, long after doubt fades, long after yesterday loses its grip, as you walk forward fully awake into what has already been prepared for you.